Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Fountain pen focus. We're going to focus on two metal pens. We've got, although they say it's a copper, I think it's more like a brass pen. This is a Chinese pen, and that's going to go up against this copper pen from Retro51. Join me now down on the table. Let's take a look at these pens. We'll do a walk through the body, some size comparisons, weights and measures. We'll do a writing sample. Then I'll give you my thoughts and my scores for these. Welcome down to the table. So here we've got today's pens. We've got the Dlike Alpha Travel Pen All Copper Steel with a medium nib. Quite a name, isn't it? And we've got the Retro51 Tornado Antique Copper Abraham Lincoln with a 1.1 stub. Also quite a name, isn't it? So two quite long names. I will be abbreviating them as we go through the video though. Let's start with a walk through the bodies. So we'll start with a Delike pocket pen, pocket sized pen. About the same size and shape as a Kaweco Sport. It's advertised as being all copper. To me, I would say it's more likely brass. I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, I think this is more likely a brass pen than copper, but that's what they say, so that's what we'll call it. We've got some engraving here on the cap. We've got War and Peace. There we go. Quite a weighty pen. We'll look at that better when we do our weights and measures. With the Retro51, this is this antique copper look. I quite like it. We've got these black straps going through. They look quite nice as well, and they seem to be getting wider and more visible with age, so I think we're getting a little bit of a patina there. I like the cap here. So with the Delike, very, very straightforward. I'd say very similar to a Kaweco Sport. Here we've got a little bit of detailing on it. Can you see this here? There we go. And I think I'm just going to turn it around. We've got some writing on there, so we've got Tornado TM by Retro51. They are very nice looking pens. Both of these pens are cartridge converters, so let's just take a quick look at that. So here's the converter with the Delike. It came with the converter. Here we've got the converter with the Retro51. Now I'm being careful because, as you can see, that's come loose. So I have to push it in. It happens all the time. It's usually every sentence or so it comes loose. So I have to regularly go in and push that down. We don't want an inky mess now, do we? Let's pop these bodies back on, and we'll pop the caps back on. Did you hear the squeak there as I was putting the body on? It is a very noisy pen. Whereas at least with the Dlike Alpha, that's a little bit quieter. So now I've put the caps back on, let's take them off again. So we'll start here with the Delike. So we go half, 1, 1.5 turns to come off. So that's not too bad. And then with the Retro51, we've got half, 1, 1.5, about 1 3/4. So again, not too bad. I'm going to put them both next to each other so we can take a closer look at the nibs. So with a Delike nib, steel nib, both of them are steel nibs. It's a fairly small looking nib. Is it maybe a number 5, maybe even a little bit smaller possibly. It's nice though, it's all that steel colour. We've got a nice decorative border. Underneath the breather hole we've got Delike, which is DL, not a DE. I know I keep spelling it DE, but it should be DL. And then super quality. Well, it's nice to know that, isn't it? It's a super quality pen. With the Retro51. Here, bigger nib. It's a number 6 size nib. From what I've been told, they're made for Retro51 by Yoho. Got some nice engraving on here though. So again, we've got that decorative border. Below the breather hole, we've got 51 in a circle. So that will be the Retro51 logo. Then below that, we've got 1.1, which is the size of the nib. Let's swap over and do some size comparisons. I brought in my two standards. So we've got the Pilot Metropolitan and the Lamy Safari. So the Retro51, ever so slightly shorter than the Safari and about the same size as the Metropolitan. That Dlike though, when we've got the cap on like this, a lot smaller. Let's take the caps off and put these how I would use them to write with. So here we've got them as I write with them. The Dlike, I use postage, so that's why it's posted. Looking at the nibs, the Dlike nib, very similar size to what we've seen with the Metropolitan. And then we've got that Retro51 nib, being a number 6, larger than all of them. Lengthwise, I've tried to line up the nibs. The Retro51, ever so slightly shorter still than the Safari. A little bit longer, but only a tiny little bit longer than the Metropolitan. But now that we've got this posted, that Dlike, a lot longer than all of them. What are the pens like in the hand? So here's the Dlike in my hand. There we go, try and get that into the camera. Not too bad. The section isn't too bad, maybe a tiny bit on the thin side. It's a pocket pen, what do you expect? If I have this unposted, it's just about usable when it's unposted. But I do find my preference is to post it, although that does make it quite heavy. And then with the Retro51, so here we are unposted, it's a lot lighter pen, comfortable in the hand. The section again to me feels a little bit on the thin side, but I've got quite large hands. Will it post? Yes, it does post. Post's not too bad, although it posts down to here, and to be honest, I'd be worried about scratching the material, so I don't use this posted. Let's swap on over and look at some pens that are in roughly the same price range. So the pens that I brought in a Jinhao 100, 25 Aussie dollars. The Dlike, that's approximately 24 Aussie dollars. The Retro51, here we're looking at 126 Aussie dollars. The Ranga Model 5, this was the closest I had in price to that, 142 Aussie dollars. So there are some nice pens out there in roughly the same price range, but none of them really look very similar to our target pens. Let's swap on over and we'll fetch in the rule of measuring. Here we've got the rule of measuring. We'll start with the Dlike. So with the cap on, we're looking here at about 11.2 centimetres. Unposted, that comes in at 10.7. Posted, trying to avoid moving everything too much, 13.7. Let's line it up a little bit, shall we? There we are, 13.7. The width of the body, so I measured it here, that's 1.1 centimetres. The cap I measured here, trying to get the widest part. That comes in at 1.3 centimetres. The section doesn't really seem to change very much, so it's 0.97 centimetres. Let's take a look at the Retro51. So the full pen, 13.7, so that's the same as the other pen when it's posted. Unposted, here we've got 12.6. Posted, so it will post, it feels a bit wobbly sometimes. 16 centimetres. The width of the body, that comes in at 1.2 centimetres. The cap, 1.3 centimetres. And then the section, we go from 0.9 up to 1.0. So a little bit wider at the top, but a little bit narrower at the bottom. Let's get this out of the way and fetch in the scales of weighing. Here we've got the scales of weighing, again starting with that Dlike. Full pen, 48 grams or 48.2 grams. Body alone, remember we've got a tiny bit of ink, 30.3 grams. And the cap, if it will sit there without rolling, near enough 18 grams. The Retro51, 34 grams or 34.5. The body, again trying to avoid it rolling, let me just pop that in, 20 grams. And the cap, 14.6 grams. Let's get this out of the way and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members. All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is a Rhodia notepad, A5, and it's plain paper. Just going to pop it slightly on an angle, just makes it a bit easier for me to write. So we're going to start with the Dlike. So we've got here a Dlike, and I'm just going to call it an alpha. See there, alpha. When it's unposted, it looks really and feels really uncomfortable. Now I'll post it. And this has got a medium nib. Now I'm agitating the pen because there's a shimmer ink in here. Price wise, about 24 Aussie dollars. The ink, well, what else could I do? This is called a copper pen, so I've got in here Diamine vintage copper. Drying times, so we go immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. After a minute there, we're nice and dry. Now, one of the things I have noticed, I'm going to show you this, inside there's a liner. It appears that whilst I've been doing this video, the liner's come loose. So look at that, I can't take it off. I had a problem when it was posted, so it's not coming off. So what I'm going to try and do is give it a little twist, see if that'll help. And then, yeah, that helped a bit. So that doesn't seem to be as loose, but one thing to be aware of, the liner comes loose and it stops the pen from unposting or actually from the cap coming off. Going to move this up ever so slightly. I've got a microphone down on the table. Let's hear the pen write. And then my final scribble test. That's nice. I like the line it's given. Although it says it's a medium, there does seem some natural line variation in there to me, which is really nice to see. Not seeing much of that shimmer coming through, which is a shame because I think that would have been nice. But yeah, it's not a bad experience. I like the way it writes. There's a lovely tactileness to it, and there's that nice audibleness to it as well. Let's move this up, and what we'll do is we'll now write with the Retro51. So the Retro51, here it is. I'm just going to call it the Tornado, so Retro51 Tornado with a 1.1 stub. Price wise, I've already said 126 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Diamine and it's a Raspberry Rose. This is a standard ink. One of the things I found from the past, this pen does not like shimmer or chameleon inks. If I put those in, I get awful flow issues, but with standard inks, with sheening inks, get no issue. Drying times, so here's immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. After a minute there, yeah, that seems nice and dry. Let's write our sentence. And our scribble test. It's nice. I like the line on this. I like the line variation. It's really, really nice. I just wish it was a little bit wider, but we'll cover that more in my thoughts. It's an interesting pen, I'll say, nice and comfortable. It feels smoother when I'm writing than I was getting with the Dlike, but saying that, it's still nice. And sound-wise, I think it was very similar to what I was seeing with the Dlike. Let's swap on over and I'll give you my thoughts and my scores. Let's start with pen looks. I really like the look of this. I like the colouring. I like here the War and Peace. I think that's quite nice, that engraving. Yes, it's a weighty pen, but it looks very nice. Shame we had that little issue. But for looks, I really like it. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. With the Retro51. It's alright. It doesn't jump out at me. We've got this bit of fancy up here. But other than that, there's nothing really jumping out and saying, yeah, use me. It just looks like a dirty copper pen. And I know that's because I've been using it, so we're getting this black coming through. But it's nothing special to look at. I'm going to be really, really hard and give it a 7 out of 10. Build quality. Well, I've got my notes. No issues so far with the Delike. We just had that issue with the cap lining, but it went back on. So I'm going to forgive that for now, but in future reviews that may come in if it keeps happening. Build quality, it's a solid pen, got a nice weight to it, everything seems to work fine. 8 out of 10. Build quality for the Retro51. First thing I'm going to call out, and do it carefully, is here with the converter, that it pops out so easy. Second thing is, there you go. I just put that near the mic that's on the table. It makes a lot of noise when you're taking that cap off. So to me, both of those are little things that could be easily addressed. So I'm only going to give it a 7 out of 10 for build quality. Writing experience, the Delike, it's nice. It's got that nice feedback, but it's a bit on the heavy side. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Now, to me, an 8 out of 10 is a good pen. So just bear that in mind. With the Retro51, I love the way it writes. I love the natural line variation. It's really enjoyable to use. I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. For ink flow, no issues with either of them. We've got really good ink flow. Not seeing any of that shimmer, so I need to see how that goes on as I get to use this with different inks. I know I have problems with the shimmer ink in here, so I just avoid them. So for ink flow, to me, they both get an 8 out of 10. Comfort, it's a bit heavy, it's a bit thin. When it's posted, it's not too bad. You know, I can live with it. It's nice though because it's a pocket pen. So I know it's in my pocket, which is really what the idea of it is, isn't it? So for a pocket pen, I'm quite happy to give that an 8 out of 10. And with the Retro51, nice length. Again, feels a tiny bit thin, but not enough to be uncomfortable. Could do with being a little bit heavier. You know, we've got one too heavy, one not just quite heavy enough, but it's okay. 8 out of 10. So that gives a total score for the Delike of 8.17 out of 10 and the Retro51 of 7.83 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. So what are your thoughts on these pens? I think they're both nice in their own ways. I'm still not 100% sold on this. I'm not seeing really a proper use for it. I mean, yes, it'd be all right to carry in my pocket, but then it's a bit heavy for that. So, something I've got to think about. Please drop your comments down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.